Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins in the neon-lit heart of Las Vegas, where fortunes flicker, and dreams dance on the edge of reality. Nick Wilde strides through the shimmering chaos, taming the tempestuous heart of a privileged mama's boy, a character so outlandishly mismatched with his enchanting paramour, that even the desert winds whisper tales of their incongruity. Nick weaves a web of illusion, crafting a stage where bravado reigns supreme, and where the unsuspecting puppeteer morphs into the gallant hero his lady love craves. But dawn unfurls with new challenges. As the desert sun casts long shadows, a cryptic missive dances into Nick's world. The name Cyrus etched in urgency across the page, the ink seems to pulse with a fervor that resonates in Nick's very bones. Cyrus Kinnick needs his help, and pays good money. On the other hand, Nick is an avid gambler, and although is initially hesitant, he agrees to accept the assignment, because a lot of money is at stake. He drives to a diner, and is accosted by the man he assisted the day before. He tells Nick that Nick's strategy worked wonders, and offers him his cash, plus an extra $500. Nick is pleased, but refuses the extra. Dealing with Nick is always a pleasure. While preparing a man's drink at the restaurant, his friend's waitress hands him a note from a woman he knows, inviting him to stop by her apartment. Holly, an escort who has been beaten to a pulp, hugs Nick. When he asks, she has no idea who did this to her. She entered an elevator with 3 men after her date last night. One was a young man in charge. Under the guise of a party, they pulled her to their suite, humiliated her, forced her, and severely beat her. They dumped her in a hospital's driveway. She requests that Nick find out who they are, so she can sue them. He claims he is not a detective, and that it is nearly impossible to find people in Vegas, particularly at the Golden Nugget Hotel, which he had cautioned her to avoid. He refuses to assist her. With a foul taste from the whole thing, he travels to the Golden Nugget, to see what he can find. He is a man with many acquaintances, and one of them is a housekeeper who works there, who he approaches for information about the incident. Later at the cafe, he meets her, and learns that the man who assaulted Holly is Danny DeMarco, the son of a gangster, which explains why he is constantly escorted by 2 strong males. She advises him that DeMarco is dangerous, and that he should avoid him. Nick contacts Holly, and informs her that he has found no information about her assailants, but she quickly confronts him about his lying, adding to the account of how DeMarco insulted her. She knows how to put pressure on Nick, to do what she wants, and he believes he has no choice. Nick picks up Cyrus later in the day, and drives him to Vegas, where he shows Cyrus all of the exquisite casinos, before deciding to stay at a run-down casino. Cyrus believes that the enjoyment may be sustained for a longer period of time, when playing at $10 tables, rather than $100 tables. Nick has reached the top of his professional career, when he is tasked with guarding a young guy who has staked $10 on the outcome of a roll of the dice. Nick is under the impression that no one will rob Cyrus, so he leaves him to fend for himself. Nick pays Holly a visit, and informs her about the whereabouts of DeMarco, but he refuses to provide any further assistance in the investigation. The false information about her intention to sue DeMarco has infuriated him. What she really wants is to get her hands on his nuts. Despite the fact that doing so would put Nick in danger, he is an easy mark for her flattery, and falls for it every time. He confronts DeMarco in the hotel, under the pretext of a person who was sent there by Baby, the head of the organized crime family in Vegas. By making the allegation that he is Holly's pimp, he hopes to resolve the conflict with him in a peaceful manner. Even though DeMarco compensates him with $50,000 for his troubles, nothing is ever that straightforward. He starts making fun of Nick, and forces him to call him sir, and brag about all the great things he is going for him, so that he will let him live. Nick does this in the vain hope that he will be allowed to live. He claims to be a trustworthy employee, and even shows him his identification. DeMarco, being a decent man, orders his thugs to rough him up a little, and Nick abandons the peaceful option. He fractures one of the guy's legs, and slices the other's forehead with a card, before beating him up even more. DeMarco shoots at Nick, but the card comes into play again, knocking him out. When DeMarco regains consciousness, he and his thugs are restrained, and Holly is waiting for him. She reminds him of her, and this time she's prepared for the celebration. DeMarco, who was once cool and collected, is now in tears. He informs her about the money, and she tosses the stack to Nick, but it's not about the money for her. She treats him the same way he treated her. She wants to hear that he loves her, and if she doesn't believe it, DeMarco will explode. Holly contemplates castrating him, who sobs and begs her forgiveness. Instead, she chooses to accept the money and depart. Outside, Nick advises her to leave town, as he should as well. Because he took the risk and she got the pounding, they share the money, and part ways. Nick can only do one thing with all that money in front of him: go directly to the casino to feed his gambling addiction. He takes a seat at a blackjack table, and places a $5 stake. To put his luck to the test, he strikes a 19, and receives a 2. In any case, it's his last night in Vegas, so he swaps $1,000 for one chip right away. He quickly has thousands, and doubles his stake every time he wins. Unfortunately, the dealer's shift has ended, so he gathers his chips, and goes to get a drink. He sees Cyrus at the bar. He believes he struck gold with the dealer, but then a strange revelation dawns on him. How can he know luck has vanished if he has never tested it? He returns, is on a roll with numerous hands, and begins playing the entire table with maximum bets. Cyrus is there, silently supporting him. With a massive chip stack, he wins his last hand, and reaches the milestone of $500,000, a nice point to call it quits. He informs Cyrus about his ambitions to flee the country with this money, and live the life of his dreams. Nick even has a generous spirit, as seen by the fact that he leaves a tip of $6,000 for a waiter, but, when he approaches the cashier, he has an anxiety attack. He informs Cyrus that the sum of $500,000 is sufficient, but he needs more so he will never be in this situation again. Therefore, Nick makes the decision to keep gambling. He bets the entire $500,000, in addition to the $25,000 he started with, all on a single hand of blackjack. After receiving a 17 and seeing the dealer with a 10, he makes the same decision as before, and hits, hoping to get a 4. Unfortunately, he busts, and to add insult to injury, the dealer gets to 16, and Nick would have won if he had followed the rules, but he didn't. He is completely destitute now, and puts it out of his mind, like any gambler would, saying, "I came here with $25,000, and lost $25,000, it's not a big deal." It is painful to say the least. Following that, he loses his composure in the restroom, and continues to become increasingly intoxicated, till he eventually passes out. The next morning, Cyrus confesses to Nick that he is a self-made millionaire, and asks Nick to show him how to be brave in business and life. He's traveled to Vegas to meet Nick, under the guise of requiring Nick to be his bodyguard, in order to grow closer to him. Cyrus may assist him financially, if Nick can teach him not to be afraid of life. But Nick refuses, claiming he was affluent yesterday, and is now poor. Money will not assist him, and he will perish in this hellhole. When 2 of DeMarco's men arrive to take him to their boss, he returns to the casino bar. He has a flashback of losing everything that day, and channels his rage towards destroying the 2 of them in seconds. More goons emerge, but it makes no difference to him. He repels all of them, until the cops arrive. Nick meets with Baby, the mob lord of Vegas. DeMarco had filed a complaint with Baby, alleging that Nick broke into his hotel room, pistol whipped him, and killed 2 of his guys, all to fund his gambling addiction. Baby leads Nick to a room with DeMarco, where Nick relates his version of the story. DeMarco killed his own men when he left the hotel, and he has a cut on his small pecker to prove it. Baby requests that DeMarco remove his pants, in order to prove Nick wrong, but he refuses on principle. Nick and Baby burst out laughing, and DeMarco walks away in a huff as a result. Nick and Baby end up being really close friends, but Baby won't be able to assist Nick with what's going to happen next. DeMarco is going to go after him. He goes back to the restaurant that he enjoys the most. Cyrus comes up to him, and tells him he is going to leave, but not before thanking Nick for showing him that everybody in the world is afraid of something. Nick is a jerk as well as someone who is afraid. Cyrus wants to show his appreciation by giving him a check for $500,000, and a plane ticket to Corsica. However, he is unable to do so, because he is going to be killed, and this causes him to feel a lack of fulfillment. It would appear that DeMarco's career is over, now that he and his guys have arrived at the diner. This plan is a resounding success, when Cyrus unexpectedly exhibits his newly discovered manliness, singing loudly, in an effort to divert DeMarco's attention, so that Nick can escape. They give chase to him, and DeMarco makes a declaration that he would turn the entire town upside down, in order to catch Nick, who is armed and hiding on the roof of the building they are pursuing. Nick puts his hands over his ears, and daydreams about the life that would be perfect for him, but first he needs to achieve inner calm. It is of no use to have weapons when he starts stabbing them with his utensils. He and DeMarco are the only ones left alive after all of the thugs have been eliminated. He allows him to land a few hits, before finishing him off and showing off his muscles to him. After that, Cyrus insists that Nick take the check and the ticket, and Nick does so, because he considers Cyrus to be a good friend. Nick gets in his car and drives out of Vegas. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.